Welcome to Subramani. I'm going to talk to you about the reality of caring for aging parents. I'm not very sure whether my neighbor will like it, but this is a story little taken from his own experiences. His father got bedridden, and then his mother got bedridden, and the gap between the father getting bedridden and the mother's funeral was about 15 years. So for 15 years this family could not take a vacation together. The four of them never ever went on a vacation, so much so that at the daughter's wedding they had to get a friend who to stay in the house to be with the mother, so that the four of them could attend the wedding. It was that bad. What happened to the siblings? Did they not come and support? This is a finance channel. I'm not getting into all that stuff. So look at the reality. This boy, good friend of mine, had to compromise on his job because he could not find enough time to look after his father and mother and go to office. So he took up a easier job, less stressful job, and obviously less paying job. So that was step one. Step two, they needed full-time help. A lot of the, I think it started in 2005, 2002, 2003, which means it was the worst time to sell off the portfolio, and that was the time when he had to sell the portfolio to start paying for these expenses. There was not enough insurance, and anyway insurance does not cover these kind of expenses. Many of these kind of expenses are not covered. They had to pay, and right now, see, what he paid is not as important as what it is now. It costs you about 3,000 to 3,500 per day for two helpers if you want a person 24/7. That's the cost that is being incurred by some other person I know. That is about 1 lakh a year, 1 lakh a month just on the care person, right? Plus there is visits to the doctor, which means there is a car, there is a driver, and the fact that it is not one person's job. It was not just my neighbor's job. It was his job, his wife, his daughter, and his son. The son was the youngest, but all four of them had to chip in. If three of them had to go out, one of them had to sacrifice and say, I will stay back at home. Right? The boy and the son and the daughter had to sit in the neighbor's house to study, or they had to study in a college library. So just look at the costs involved for all of these things, or any of these things. First of all, there is cost to be paid to the doctors. Hopefully some of it partially covered by insurance, some of it not covered. Then there are medicines. Then there is a physical trauma of taking them to the loo, giving them a bath, which requires a full-time person. So if it's a man, you require a full-time male nurse. If it's a female, you require a full-time female nurse. Then there are guests coming in and giving a lot of sympathies, but other than sympathies, nothing. Your own siblings may not pitch in. If you have one sibling, there is a good chance that the sibling is in US. What you will get is a lot of fantastic free advice, but not much help, right? Typically 1 week in a year or 2 weeks in a year, when your sibling will come here and say this is how it should be done and this is how it should not be done. So that kind of gyan is what you will get. You will not get anything else. So here it is, a huge drain on your budget, a huge drain on your physical strength, a huge strain on your wife's physical strength, a huge strain on your children's ability to handle the whole stress, and the fact that you will give up a good job. You see also what happens is, all this happens at the peak of your career. Maybe you're 48, or maybe you're 50. That's the peak of your career. Your wife is a housewife. She's unable to cope up with this, so you suddenly come down on your job. From earning 90 lakhs or crore a year, you come down to 20-30 lakhs. So there is a cash flow problem. Then there is a question of, if your parents don't have enough assets. Third, what happens if your parents have to shift in with you? Ideally they should shift into a house next to you, which you can get on rent. But what if they can't do that also? Then they will have to shift in with you. So you may have to give up your 2 BHK and go to a 4 BHK or something like that, so that your mom and dad can be in one room, your son and daughter can be in one room, you could be in one room, and maybe there is a help who has to be given some space space. So somebody has to cook for her or cook for him, somebody has to make chai for that person, and these are the costs that it involves. So what do you do in such a case? In such a case, you definitely, if depending on the age of your parents, you suggest that they live in a geriatric care, right? So geriatric care, where all such support is available, is something which you can think of. Taking care of your own requirements, wearing your own mask before rescuing others is important. So doing all those things, making sure you outsource as much as possible, because you do not know whether it is for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years or 22 years. So sit down, plan, sit with your siblings, ask for contributions, be pretty blunt about that. Make sure that you sell off your parents' assets, right? Doing all this will require consent, it will require some documentation, require making of a will. Pay attention to all those things. I will do more videos on this, but this is just to highlight the problems that are there and what you have to start at least thinking about this if your parents are alive, and that you think one day they will require care from you or your siblings. Thank you.